Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to, would you believe it, the September First Friday. And even more amazing, we are preparing for winter and Advent today, but don't worry, this is all good communications planning, as we'll come to. Well, we are now 8 months in, and obviously I'm Mike, and Hannah's going to be leading a big section of today's session as well, looking and preparing, doing a really good case study. I've looked at the material, obviously, with Hannah. I think this is really helpful, not only just in terms of Christmas and Advent, but at any point through the year. I think some of the principles we're going to look at today are really good and helpful. Just a reminder, if you're looking at First Friday for the first time, we are a monthly online gathering. So we have got people here in the space today, and we will have a conversation in the second half, which isn't recorded, but this first half is, where you will see the content and the different things that we would like to sort of focus on during that first half. So at any point, you can catch up afterwards if you can't make that this time on the first Friday. So for those that are in the space, do put in the chat. And for those watching online, and if you're here for the first time as well, or watching again for the first time, we do have, by the time you watch this one, another 8 First Fridays to look at through the rest of the year. And we're doing this just as a reminder. Hannah and I are really passionate about local church communications. We've been entrusted with the amazing gospel message, and I think that starts with good communications. That's one of the things I was reflecting on as we came in today, is that, you know, we all care. Everybody watching this now or watching it later cares about the gospel message. But you have to show that. You have to show that in the comms that you've actually got and out there. It's a bit like when you buy anything or research anything, isn't it? These days we are in a review culture. So if you went into a supermarket and the stuff looked a bit out of date, or, you know, it all looked a bit run down, you probably wouldn't buy from there. And whenever you were looking to invest in something, you would go around the houses and, you know, get reviews, get recommendations, or have conversations with people. And I think that's where our gospel communication message, it starts with things looking good, up to date, well planned, so people have got confidence in the care that you have about your message. So we will get started preparing for winter and Advent. Hannah, did you want to start this bit?
Yeah, can do. Cool. So preparing for winter and Advent, I'm going to, for the ease of sort of getting it into context, going to kind of predominantly focus on December, but obviously everything that we're sort of talking about can be applied into the months running up, and we will try and sort of bring other bits in, but it is kind of predominantly kind of Christmas or the Advent season, but don't just think of just that, because that is not the only time, and actually you kind of need to be planning and stuff beforehand to get people to come into church during December. So despite my sort of inclination to wish Mike a Merry Christmas, there is this sort of saying that, you know, Christmas is ages away. We've still got a long time to go, but actually, I don't know about the rest of you, but time is just going very fast at the minute. And even though it might feel like it's ages away, actually, we do need to be starting to think about things, plan things, design things, get stuff printed, actually know what's going on, because it will be here before too long. And this kind of realized that this is essentially the same thing as say every time when talking about comms, but start now, because it makes your life so much easier going forward. And one of the first things to do, starting now, is looking ahead at your calendar. So look at your church calendar of sort of what are the big events coming up, what are sort of community things going on, what's happening at your building, are there any big events happening, or sort of big dates to note, what's important for the church. So are there any particular sermon series, are there particularly, again, any events or activities or special things to remember? And that's sort of more one-off or sort of self-declared stuff, let alone then the kind of liturgical dates, Advent, and other kind of seasonal things that we do need to be thinking about. But also think about what is happening locally. And that will be very obviously impactful to what you're planning. So obviously you don't want to be planning a carol service the same day as various other local things because people might not come, but then that also is of thinking nationally and internationally. So I know that for a lot of ministers it was a sort of sudden scramble last year of going, oh, the football, like the finals were on, actually that's going to conflict with so many the carol services that people do. And I think it was like Sunday the 16th or something, and everyone was sort of thinking, well, what do we do? And whilst it's not that we need to be sort of working around those dates necessarily, it's just good to sort of have an idea of what is happening nationally or internationally, but it's the local stuff that actually should influence what you're doing, because either you could align with it, work with them, or sort of like change your dates around slightly to fit that, if it means that you're going to fit with you're not compromising people having to make a decision as to whether to attend your events or not. Also, and I don't run a church, so this might be sort of, I have to say, out of place slightly to say, but with everything that's going on at the minute of cost of living crisis, refugees, you're coming out of the pandemic and people are still worried about things that are happening and stuff that's sort of resurging slightly. The climate crisis is a huge, we might joke about the weather slightly, but actually it is a huge concern for so many people. Are there things that you can link into throughout your winter and Advent calendar that actually will be a reason for people to connect with? And as lovely and wonderful and exciting as the Christmas story is, obviously it means something to us as Christians, and it might mean something to people who don't actively celebrate faith, but they sort of know that Christmas means presents and stuff. But actually, if they're struggling to put food on the table, they are probably less likely to be engaging with the kind of happy, yay, Christmas stuff, when actually they you've got to have a reason to connect with people's hearts slightly. So is there a way of aligning with your mission partners or local charities or causes or ministries that people within your church or locally really care about, that actually you can kind of like just do something different to kind of get people's attention and get them coming through the door? One second, my dog's snoring really loudly. So and again, I know I say this all the time with sessions that we've done, of thinking now and looking ahead, but it is really important, because you don't want to be thinking about this stuff mid-October when actually you've got to then get stuff printed kind of early November so that it'll arrive end of November. So thinking now will make everything just so much easier, and actually it'll be then easier to go, well, we've got a gap here, we could put this thing in here, and more people know what's going on in the church sooner, because it's always tends to be kind of early December you see the sort of calendar events, you go, well, I've missed half of them already. Anyway, so we've kind of got a bit of an idea of things that are going on. What is the content that I need to be thinking about? What do I need to be creating? So the first thing is sort of general branding. And I'm not talking about your church general branding, though that's really important to kind of reflect upon and think about. But actually have a bit of a brand for your sort of Christmas, so winter and Advent sort of campaigns of, so people know that, oh, that's the style that they're going for this year. Those are the sort of the colors or the causes, or that's the kind of, that's what is recognizable, so that if they see that you're doing a Christmas craft event at end of November, that actually then when it comes to the carol service, there's a bit of sort of brand identity established, and people can sort of recognize that and are more likely then to sort of go, oh, well, I went to that thing, that was really good. So have a kind of, well, and I will go in a little bit, I will kind of pull together a really, really quick sort of winter brand guide for my church's events. Also thinking about social media graphics. So obviously the kind of main things, Facebook. So we want the kind of general sort of, here's a post graphic, but also think about your page banner. If you've got kind of a lovely picture of your church building on the outside, but it's been the same thing for kind of years, why not change it to something that's either specific to, here's our kind of Christmas brand, or here are kind of a few key events that we want to just have highlighted at the top of the page. Also, posts, but kind of mix it up. Don't always do the same thing. Don't share kind of a picture of a poster. Have specifically digital created graphics, but also think about event banners as well, so that if you are doing a carol service, why not make it a Facebook event that actually you're able to sort of gauge a bit of excitement, and you can comment on stuff, you can add some pictures and things within the event pages, and even visually kind of entice people into it. That's the words. And thinking about Instagram as well. So obviously you don't want something that's too text heavy. So we want to go probably like make carousel images and do videos, but also videos of thinking about actually that will go on on Facebook, but also onto YouTube. If you've got kind of a YouTube channel where you're regularly uploading, you could put shorts in, or you could create a kind of longer video. And I put Threads there, but I should have also included Twitter, depending on sort of, or X, however you're sort of defining them. But thinking about actually what are the new platforms that we need to be thinking about within sort of our strategy, and is this an opportunity for us to explore what we're, where we're currently at, but actually could we go onto these platforms and engage with new people? Mike, do you want to cover the print ones? Because I know that you've got some kind of good experiences from them.
Yeah, I suppose on both the sort of the print and the outlets sort of type of things. And I suppose just one quick step back, just because I thought I'd mention it from your previous slide. This is back to the sort of what we said at the top, really, that in terms of we've got the gospel message here, and we know that over many years, and we can reflect deeply at all sorts of levels of how culture and Christianity, certainly this country, has sort of drifted apart. But nevertheless, there is still an opportunity at Christmas where there is a sympathy, a greater sympathy, I think, within wider society to the Christmas message, to the gospel, to Christianity, to church in general, and that's why it really does help to plan this out well. And I think there is an opportunity, there is a greater sympathy, there is a softer audience, I think, out there in terms of people being ready to be engaged. And in terms of things that you've got there, in terms of, yes, print and outlets, I'm thinking, yeah, particularly what you can use to help get this out to a wider audience. I was just thinking, the local radio there, the times where I remember one example which worked for both the printer and the sort of the newspaper and the radio. It's quite a few years ago now, but we took part in the Guinness Book of Records biggest carol service in the world, and I sort of milked that for all it's worth. I went on the local radio, went on Radio Derby, I got it into the paper, I got it out on all our church comms, got it out in our newsletter, make sure it all went out in the community. We were absolutely filled to bursting during the actual attempt, but it worked out really well. And I think it's looking for your angle. I mean, we spend a lot of the time, and if anybody sort of comes in and asks, certainly all the time, I get organizations come to me saying, would you be prepared to sort of communicate? But I'd always be saying, what's the angle? What's the relevance to our audience? What will pique interest in those sorts of things? So maybe this is really contextual. So certainly during the years that I was involved with sort of food banks or CAP ministry, maybe there is a particular need sort of through your food bank or justice related ministries, which in fact other people are generous at Christmas. And so that you'll actually get people who perhaps aren't Christian, who won't go to church at all. But in fact, if you say, we are looking for this, and you get that out, local radio, local newspapers are always interested in this, that they've got pages and time to fill. And if you've got something which you think, the community will be interested in this, start thinking about your angles now. And I think it will bear fruit. I've seen it.
Yeah, no, that's good. And also sort of, having those relationships helps you to share stuff throughout the year on other things as well. Definitely. So then, please don't be scared by this. It does look a bit packed, but I feel to add a bit of context. So for those of you who were with us for Baptist Assembly and our session Ready Steady Comms, for it, Mike and I, though I kind of led it, and I'm now like really invested in this church, created a model hypothetical church that I could use for examples and stuff, because actually I could make up everything in it. So the branding that I'm going to create is for my fake church, Lighthouse Road Baptist Church, and I was sort of, so this is all made up stuff, but it is based upon my experiences with other churches and the styles of events and things that I know that they will do, or that I've had in my previous churches. So I just made a sort of a grid calendar, put the dates in, and started inputting, and sort of it's not even finished with some other stuff that I've kind of thought up as I was writing other bits for this session, but put in various events. So on the greens are church activities that sort of church community activities, so sort of happen on site. So toddler group, that happens every Monday, and the cafe, which is sort of a community hub space, and both of them on the 18th and then the 20th, respectively, they've got their kind of Christmas party. So that's a note of something actually for content wise, that's either quite nice to promote in the run up to it, or it's quite a nice thing to share afterwards, you know, getting pictures. So for the comms person within the church, you know, they'd make sure to kind of go along to that and get, where appropriate, get content. Then the yellow colours are for local community events. So we're, again, in my hypothetical town, we're going to have a town Christmas market that's going on for kind of 10 days. Nothing necessarily that the church is involved in, but actually it might be quite a nice thing for us to think about, to engage, to sort of promote in the run up to it. Maybe it's something that we could attend as a church or sort of support in some way. And then on the Saturday the 9th, we've got the Mayor's Town Carol service, and that'll be sort of an ecumenical service. Again, it's nothing directly that we are necessarily directly involved in. You know, we're not organising it. Perhaps the minister might do some reading or prayers or something like that. Maybe we're involved in the worship, but sort of that's something that it'd be, again, nice to promote, nice to attend. You've got the blue, which are predominantly all on the Sunday, because those are the Sunday services. So we've got the sort of standard morning service and the evening service, and then on the just on the 24th, we've got Sunday morning service, a crib service, and a midnight service because it's Christmas Eve, so it's going to be a busy Sunday. And then on the 31st, so as I made the executive decision, actually, do you know what, it might be New Year's Eve, but we're going to still have a service in the morning. However, actually, we're going to make the service and the evening slightly earlier, because I think it is still important for us to do something, but it's a bit earlier so that people can still go and do stuff. Maybe we could do something different. Anyway, and then on the 14th, we're going to have a dementia-friendly carol service. So that is something that is was something that I've seen being done in previous churches, and actually that was a really lovely thing to kind of have something that's a little bit different, that maybe the kind of the normal carol service that we've got then on the 17th, which would be the candle lit sort of, you know, very, very packed out church with everyone. The dementia friendly carol service would be something a little bit simpler, more traditional, and maybe there's a way, so the ones that I saw, they linked in with the schools and had kind of the kids singing and taking part, and it was a really lovely kind of intergenerational thing, but was done in a much safer space for people sort of either if they were sort of older, or sort of maybe with disability access, or actually maybe that sort of, you know, 6:30 is a bit too late for them. This worked really well for them.
Yeah, we've had a good spot there, Hannah. But this is the eagle-eyed amongst you there. That we've got nothing going on Christmas Day, but that's
no, we're going to have a break. Yeah, it's not finished yet. No, it's fine. We haven't decided what we're going to do on Christmas Day. Thank you for that spot key. And then I've got the in the kind of sea green on the 25th, on Saturday the 25th November, we've got a Christmas craft event, and then on the Tuesday the 5th, responding with compassion, and I will explain kind of where my thinking with that goes, but also notes such as, you know, when do the schools break up and the church office being closed, because they are nice things to acknowledge on social, of being like, you know, we're praying that everyone, you know, as schools break up, you know, we're praying for people, or, you know, we hope everyone has a lovely Christmas. Church office is closed, please don't, you know, the emails will be sporadically checked, and stuff like that, that kind of as administrative stuff that, you know, presumably most people will assume that maybe the office is closed, but equally it's just a nice way of letting people know, and again then to sort of, when you do open again, of being like, yay, we're back kind of thing. So it's not a complete calendar, but it literally was very easy for me to just start putting stuff in. And I mean, I'd recommend making it on a sort of cloud device or something, you know, like Google, in I think I was doing it in Google Docs, but you do it in Google Sheets, something where a number of different people can input stuff, you know, if it's leadership and stuff, because actually then it's not falling on one person, because maybe somebody might notice, oh, you haven't put the Christmas Day service in, because that's still a good thing that we need to be promoting. But it's really just helpful of seeing, well, what's going on? Well, actually the week of the 4th is really busy, so maybe we just need to be thinking about what we're posting out. But the week before is actually quite empty. Maybe that would be a good time to start putting up kind of like the full list of stuff. So that's the kind of and I like color coding it because it's helpful then to see, well, what are the things that really need my attention? So blues are the priorities, but you know, greens are for community. So that's stuff that we need to be thinking about when posting it out. Or yellow probably isn't something we need to be actively on. So even though there's a lot of writing on certain days, actually it's not something that I need to be sort of super stressed about. So yeah, so that's that one.
But I just add to that, Hannah,
yeah.
there, just on the just because again from sort of previous experience, that things like the Christmas craft fair, that can be such a key event actually in terms of your Christmas comms, of getting things right early on, because you've got the lead up to that. But certainly if you have a contextual angle like we did, we were in a deprived area of Derby, and we always tried to contextualize what we were raising funds for. And I used a community, I did a partnership with a community organizer, and she was brilliant, but we always got that angle then. So it wasn't just a Christmas craft fair for Christmas craft fair's sake, it was to raise funds for a particular local or sometimes an international reason for that, but that gave the angle for both the outlets, for the newspaper, for the radio as well. And that clearly then goes back further back, it depended on where you had it, but in this case it would be further back in November. But then it's a fantastic opportunity face to face to tell people about the rest of Christmas. So if you've got something like a craft event, you know, use that really well, and this is the time to be thinking about it and planning that in. Thanks, Anna.
No, it's right. And on that kind of thing of like then making sure that you've got, whether it's just that here's the Sunday specific events that are happening, or like our carol services and stuff, if you've got those flyers or that, like even a poster up at that event, so that the people who are walking through the doors are then actually seeing those posters, and or there's something that you can give to them. So don't wait until the week of the 20th to get them printed in case there's an issue or something, you know, make sure that you've got that printed kind of weeks before. For my church, we're going with a theme this year, and the theme for us is no room in the inn. And so we want to specifically be thinking about the kind of the refugee crisis that's going on, the sort of very much kind of stranger relationship that there isn't so much of a kind of community. We want to really bring people together. We want to kind of think about the challenges that people are facing and how we can sort of open our doors and think about being welcoming, community, and love. So, and I will show you these bits in a minute. I'm just going to, it's just easier than swapping back and forth. So it will make sense in a second. So my ideas are kind of thinking about doors that kind of visually, aesthetically aligned with either kind of biblical times, or that are quite dramatic and sort of like, it doesn't just look like a normal plastic door or something, but something that's sort of wooden and sort of really gives an impact, that it needs to be shut, and thinking about alone and loneliness and that kind of thing, you know, to really create some sort of dramatic effect. And so thinking about kind of wood, simple, and actually rather than going down the blue, the greens, golds and reds and silvers and shiny sparkly stuff, actually we're going to be thinking our colors kind of for this year will be more on browns and beige and gold, which will then obviously impact. And then not this is necessarily, but for my church, we're going to do that. It's actually going to affect how we're going to decorate the tree and certain elements with it throughout the church. If actually we're still going to go with kind of a very simplified effect. But it's just thinking, and I've looked on Unsplash and had a kind of nosy around searching for different words, and I have found some visual, some photos that kind of have influenced my designs, which again I'll show you in a second. So this list, actually I didn't tell you this, Mike, actually, so I hope this is okay to say this. So in an encouragement for using technology and the advancements of things, and I don't want to put myself out of work by saying this, but I've been a bit cheeky, partly because I wanted to see how good it was. I went on to ChatGPT and said, can you come up with sort of some content ideas for a hang on, I will read you exactly what I wrote. Can you produce a content plan for a church during the month of December, including church services, community events, and Bible verses about Christmas? It came up with one, and I said, can you amend this to have a theme on the no room in the inn to address the refugee crisis? Now, I'm not saying that everything should be done through ChatGPT and sort of tech stuff like that. But what I would like to sort of just sort of start to put in your mind is that actually, if you're feeling very overwhelmed with sort of, well, where do we go with kind of, okay, we've got the plan, we've got the kind of theme, how do we start? That actually can be really helpful of just getting an idea of what's going on. And the thing is, well, okay, so it's suggested a sort of load of Bible verses. Do check them. I'm not said this is not my final thing. This is just what has been produced. And actually some of it doesn't really work for me and for our calendar. So I'm not going to go kind of definitely on this. So it's suggested on Saturday, the 9th, I think that works out as the December the 9th, they're going to do a workshop of understanding the refugee crisis and responding with compassion. I like that idea, actually. So that's why I'm going to make it as an event, but later on in the week. And that's going to sort of be a bit different, but it's the fact that it has come up with kind of Advent reflections, theme, preparing our hearts to welcome. Week 2, extending hospitality, theme, finding room in our hearts. And actually it's prompted kind of sermon ideas, scriptures, special music, various events and things like that. But also those verses can then be very helpful in thinking about, well, what do we share throughout the week? How do we bring together this sort of old story that is very irrelevant to a lot of people because it's about a little baby, in thousands of years ago? How do we talk about it and make it relevant to today? So how do we sort of bring those scriptures and make it kind of contextual to what's going on in the world today? And then week 3 and 4, sort of theme, serving others as Christ did, and week 4 for embracing the journey. And again, it's not all correct. So it said special elements, candlelit procession, nativity scene. Well, actually, maybe we're breaking that up because we'll have the morning service and then the crib service. So it might be a bit different. We've got other events. But actually, the fact that it has helped me to create this has been very helpful in just sparking some ideas. And I think a question very often that I get from ministers in particular of how do we use kind of AI and tech like this. I'm not saying that it should write the sermons and stuff, but actually it's a very helpful way for the creators of just going, I just need some ideas, and actually how can we use these things for sort of for benefit of just making our work kind of a bit more efficient. But also don't just take that and go with it in case the verses are wrong or saying something completely different, but just wanted to kind of prompt this idea because I did find it very helpful. And then thinking beyond Christmas, that actually don't just go, oh, Christmas Day, that's it, we're done, I don't have to think of anything. If you've built a relationship with people, whether within your church, those who've attended occasionally, those who've attended for the first time because of some events and activities that have happened within the church in the winter and Advent season, don't just sort of drop off the face of the earth for the next sort of 4 weeks as you recover from Christmas. And this is why it's really important to work in teams and have things kind of planned and scheduled and prepared, of being able to actually, how do we still continue these messages of hope, of encouragement, of sort of what we're about, and how do we take them on the next steps as we go kind of into the new year. So do think about stuff happening beyond just the 25th and that's it, but actually what can you create throughout the that last week and into January, so that you're able to engage a bit and sort of maintain or build on that sort of momentum that you've had of growth. So let's design some assets now. So I'm going to do this very quickly because I am aware of time. So I'm just going to stop sharing for 1 second whilst I move that. Cool. Can everyone see that okay? Mm-hmm. Cool. Super. So this is my Lighthouse Road sort of brand page, just to give you a bit of an idea. We sort of very kind of blues and sort of some earthy, olivey, sandy tones and stuff. But this is sort of the vibe that we go for. So for us, going for the sort of social justice element of the refugee crisis and sort of how we relate that is important. So I have created that one. So I went on to Unsplash and found some images of some doors and wood. And this is kind of the color palette that we really want to go for. I really like this design of the door because as well, actually, it had a kind of star sun effect with this kind of like ray effect that I thought actually again sort of echoed elements of the Christmas story. And then Canva's very clever. So if I go on color, what I can do is, because I've got the pictures in there, it actually picks out pictures from it picks out colors from the pictures. So I kind of picked those ones, and I think then one of the darker ones as well, as my kind of base colors. So that actually it does align within the photo, and so that any colors that I do use sort of fit within that picture. It doesn't sort of look weird because I'm picking a slightly off orange. I quite like the font of that, and that's what we're doing. No Room in the Inn, Christmas at LRBC. Very simple, doesn't take much to do within it, but actually it's really helped me to see, right, this is the vibe that we're going for. Then I have created, and this is taking it slightly step further. I then took that photo. I've got a cool app. If you have an iPad, and actually you can do it without a Apple Pencil, but if you have an Apple Pencil as well, there's a really cool app called Procreate where you can like do it's a kind of sort of drawing digital art app. It's really cool, and I've done it again with the logo for Lighthouse Road, of taking a picture and being able to draw over it. So I've taken that door and I've drawn over it to create a kind of drawn asset rather than using a photo of the door. So actually printing it will be so much easier. And I've also expanded on the rays, so that kind of does look a bit more like a sun. And very simply, I've just pulled in the I've created a poster page, and then I've pulled in the font, the graphic, our logo, and sort of now just starting to play around with what I wanted. So I did initially have it down at the bottom, but thought actually it's a bit sort of, it feels a bit sort of not quite at the focus of it. So actually if we're having it there, that creates a bit more of a kind of, there's the door, no, we've got no room, Christmas at LRBC, there's the logo, so we're going to keep the logo there, that's fine. Might make this a bit smaller, or actually what we might do is I'm going to pull this up here and we're just going to have it as our sort of subtitle. I'm going to do this really, really quickly and try and remember to talk whilst I'm doing it. So this is going to be our sort of generic poster that we are going to put out. I can't make that bold, can I? No. Put out for in the run up to Christmas, so that people have an idea of what's going on. So I've got, again, change that one, make that one bold. I'm going to make that one lighter, and I'm going to just write, now I've got to remember all of my events. You are invited to join us for our Christmas program. That's the right way of spelling program, isn't it? I always Advent season. Let's just put that there. And then I'll do another text box. Now I've got to remember. I'm going to make up the dates now. 25th of November, Christmas crafts, Sunday, the 26th, Sunday service AM and PM, Sunday. I'm going to really mess up the dates. So that'll be the same. And the thing is that you don't need to have like all of the dates and times or all of the times on it, because at least if people know what's happened, like they know kind of when it is, that at least then they can Tuesday.
And of course, what else you do, Hannah, with there is that for the more tech savvy, you can use a QR generator.
Exactly.
And then for those that don't like QRs, you can obviously have a dedicated shortcut on your website, which is really helpful, which you could do for that, or have it on your homepage. Obviously.
So actually, maybe what we do, right? So now this is starting to feel a bit full on. So let's take out Apologies if you can all hear the dog. What I'm going to do is I realized that actually all the Sunday ones are going to be a bit Sundays AM, because they'll be every week anyway. And then special events, you've got them there. But then actually what we'll also do is have at the bottom for further information on times, locations, and booking, please visit that's not I haven't actually made. I should make a website, maybe. Should speak to Adam about that. And there, so actually people write really easy to see what's happening, what's what are the regular events, what are the one-off events, and actually, okay, all I need to do is just go there, and as Mike said, you can put a QR code that it will take you directly to that page. And I probably also put in a something about why we're doing it if you're raising money for a particular cause, or for just raising awareness on something. And then I'm going to really quickly create a social bit. So I've got that. What I'm going to do is copy that, paste that in here. I'm just going to make then all of this that color. And so when I say about sort of Instagram posts, you don't want to be just posting all of that in, because that's too much to have in one post. So what I'm going to do is just make this a bit bigger. I haven't found any I haven't learned on any tutorials Lee, but I've just learned it through doing it a lot. I'm sure there are, to be honest. I'm kind of thinking maybe I might do some, because it's quite thinking about specific stuff of what I do, that it's a lot easier. And I hope this is encouraging you to explore Canva, because it is really good and helpful, and churches as charities get a free copy. So that's, I'd play around with that slightly maybe, but then what I do as well of copying them 2 bits over. But so we're going to make this as a multi-post thing, and that's going to go there, that's going to go there, and then we'll take kind of those posts and pop them there, and I'm trying to think of all the little things that I can show you all to just make sure that's and then I probably put a thing of like certain days are having certain times, and then special events, and then I'd put those there, and you'd have like a list of that. You'd make that bold and like that. So then on Instagram, you've not just got one poster, but actually you could share that. So what I might do as well actually is find elements, arrow. I could put a little arrow there to just encourage people to sort of click on the other ones. And oh, that's not quite the color that we want because it's a green. So I picked that one, or maybe we'll go with the darker brown to fit in with that one. And I don't have to worry about the fact that my logo is blue, because even though that's not kind of on the Christmas brand, but actually maybe that's appropriate for, I don't want to change it because that works in our brand. However, we also did have those colors, so maybe I do that or just go with the darker one. But yeah, that would then be social brand, and it just then helps to sort of create this kind of cohesive the cohesive image for various events that are happening, so that when you've got a special event and, you know, Christmas crafts, okay, it's not that has to be the key of it, but you could probably have that down at the bottom and have something maybe in slightly different color, but you'd have maybe No Room in the Inn as part of our No Room in the Inn Christmas services or something like that, or not. But the fact is, though, that people would then recognize that sort of this is the things that we're doing. And and okay, maybe I don't like the white there, I'm going to change that to or change it to all of that, or play around with it slightly, you know, maybe that'll work, and we'll do things like that. So yes, I hope that has kind of sparked a bit of a sort of the potential for Canva. And as well, actually, what I will just show, so that's those posts. That's cool. What you can do when you've got the Pro, which you'll get free as as churches. So actually, we don't want to do it as a square. We're going to do it as landscape banner, so that we've got an event, and you just click resize and it automatically resizes it. It doesn't make it perfect, but that gives me the dimensions then. Hopefully that works. But then I can play around with it slightly, or not. Play around with it slightly so that actually, again, it's a similar image. I'm just going to adjust it so that the doors on the other side, so that it fits in with the different elements that sort of Facebook banners or certain other banners have. I hope that has, that's been helpful. And apologies for the dog. Sorry.
I hear the dog.
Okay, that's good. So yes, that's fine. It's 1:45 now, so I'm going to stop talking, and I think kind of that's hopefully us done. And that's given a kind of very, very quick of just thinking about what you can do to prepare. And I feel like let's go back one. One of the most important things about it is, you know, Christmas is so overwhelming for everyone, of whether you've got family commitments, you've got loads of events and activities going on. You're finding it a struggle because it's too overwhelming. There's too many people. I can't afford to get involved in lots of things, but whatever's going on for people, that actually, if everyone's involved in it, so that if it's not just you are the only one doing all of the comms, and you know, you having to do all of the graphics and brand stuff, and you're the one having to find out all the events, that actually that then does make it really hard on one person doing that. So if you have sort of a group of people, and you could say to sort of several people, can you just find out what's going on in the community, so that we can kind of like make a note of that? Or anyone have an interest in sort of creating some branding or coming up with sort of some content ideas, anyone sort of get people involved, and actually makes it it just makes it easier for everyone, and then everyone feels like they're a part of it and that they have a reason to shout about it. So just don't do it alone, kind of. Christmas is so there's so much going on at Christmas anyway. Just get people involved, and it sort of just makes it a lot easier, especially as you go kind of post Christmas time. Thank you so much for listening. To mostly me. Apologies, Mike. I will do obviously the slides, and what I will do is create a couple other assets to go along with this, and so that you've got everything kind of just to sort of use as either reference or guides. And I will, if I can, kind of share it out as templates as well through Canva, so that if you're on Canva, you can be able to access them as well. We will see you on Friday the 6th. Mike, do you want to say anything about TBC?
We've just got some scheduling rearranging to do. So on our original plan, we just got to reshape it. I think we'll just have the same content as we've got planned through October, November, and December. I think it'll just be in a different order, but I've only found that out a couple of weeks ago. So we will definitely be here, and even if the schedule doesn't happen, Hannah and I will definitely have something for you. So come to that.
Super. So yes, thank you for listening. For those of you who've joined us just watching it, and if you have any questions, feel free to get in touch with us. And for the rest of you here, let's hopefully have some questions. I hope. Now I just need to work out how to stop recording.